You are now tuned in to the GNWY podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the GNWY podcast. Do not forget to like, rate, review, subscribe, do all of the things so we can be able to help get these stories out even more effectively. And today we have on the podcast, this episode, none other than Brittney Matlock with Plenty. Make some noise one time. I appreciate you coming through.
Of course.
First of all, I have to apologize because I overslept, okay? I got to be transparent with the people.
It happens.
You know, and so, but we're here.
We're here.
You know?
We're both
yes,
here.
yes.
We got it.
I appreciate you coming through. For one, I've gone through your Instagram and seen a lot of amazing stuff. You have a beautiful venue.
Yes, so we have a venue attached to our flagship store in downtown Oklahoma City. So we have a warehouse component and a rooftop, and you can rent one space or the other or both, and you can celebrate whatever you want to celebrate.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then when COVID subsides, we will start having our own workshops and classes again.
Oh.
Yeah, so we do trivia nights, and we've done arts and drafts, gardening classes. We're going to do some kid classes.
Yeah,
and we're open to suggestions. So
yeah.
let us know.
Excellent. And then even tonight, just to shout out what you're going to be doing tonight, you're going to be at the mayor's house, yes?
So we're having a fundraiser to support Mayor Holt at Plenty at the venue.
Oh, it's at Plenty?
Yeah,
okay.
we're hosting it.
Open invitation or no? I'm playing. It's probably not.
It's a fundraiser.
It's one
but
of those things.
If you want to come on.
Yes, that's
love
what's
him.
up. I seen your walkthrough video that you have on your Instagram. It's just like it seems so versatile and everything. Like you can move stuff on your own, like all this kind of stuff. Was all this like your envision? Like how did this even come about?
Yeah, so we got really lucky with that great building. So that's where it all started, and we knew we wanted a retail component and a venue.
Yeah.
And that space did not have it didn't exactly lend itself to that at first, and then we realized that we could put a rooftop build out a deck on the rooftop.
Yeah.
And we had a skylight in the warehouse, so we went straight through the warehouse skylight with the stairs. So now that forces everyone to walk through the store to get to the venue.
Smart.
Yeah,
I
so
see
it's
what
like
you
a
did
modern
there.
day Cracker Barrel. Yeah, it works.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's beautiful, and I would encourage anybody that's out there looking for a venue to definitely check out Brittney and Plenty and everything. Brittney and Plenty. Okay. So like, I'm just interested in general of like how people end up starting businesses. Was this your whole passion to even start getting into, all of these beautiful things that Plenty puts off, or like how did you even get into this in the first place?
Yeah, so I studied entrepreneurship and sustainability at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
But before the before the entrepreneurship program arrived at Oklahoma State, I was just in the business program, and I knew I wanted to do something in business. All of my parents are entrepreneurs, so I kind of grew up with that mentality.
Right.
I actually wanted to do corporate entrepreneurship, where you go in and help revise processes and procedures and act like an entrepreneur with that certain mindset. And then the sustainability component, I was studying business and essentially environmental science at the same time, which wasn't really happening on that campus. It was happening, all around the world, all around the country. Yeah. And so I got to actually help create curriculum around the blended school of thoughts, because that wasn't happening when I was there.
Right.
And it still exists today, actually. There's a corporate social responsibility class at OSU.
So you kind of set it off.
Well, I got to be part of that. It was
That's amazing.
Really, really cool. So yeah, I learned in school that business and commerce essentially is the only worldwide infrastructure that has the true power to inseminate change and disseminate ideals that will move us towards true sustainability. So there's a place for nonprofits and the government and the church and the consumer, but business is really the one thing we all have in common. We all operate by the dollar or the equivalent of a dollar, so we got to start voting with our dollars for the things we want to see.
Right.
And we need to stop voting with our dollars for the things we want less of. So Plenty exists to provide vetted products that enable a sustainable lifestyle. So every single product that comes into our store goes through our purchasing principles. So none of them are perfect. We always want to be super transparent about that. there actually is no perfectly sustainable product. The absence of a product is the most sustainable product for the planet.
Okay.
But that's probably not going to happen, right? Because we want to gift and we want to connect, and material things help us do that. So we wanted to create a place where you could feel confident walking in, and that was economically accessible for everyone. So we have a price point for everyone. We have a product for every member of the family. So we want, 7-year-olds with their allowance to come in and find something. We want grandma with her income to be able to find a big toy for grandkids. So we really wanted, from the very beginning, we wanted a place that was safe and welcome and accessible to everyone. So trying to use business to advance good in every way we can.
Right.
It can be used, business can be used for bad, but it can also be used for greatness. So
for sure.
Just using those dollars.
Where did you get the plenty from though? Like what did it?
Yeah,
that's a
great question. So I was actually in high school at a store and I saw a stack of cookbooks and the binding said plenty in big block letters. And for some reason that word stuck.
Really?
And I at the time I never ever envisioned myself opening a store. And we had another partner at the time. My mom and I are partners. And we had a third partner, a third founder. And when my mom and the founder started talking about this concept, what they wanted it to feel like and how they wanted it to look, the word plenty just popped into my mind and it fit. And we have grown into it for sure. We have plenty of stuff, but it really doesn't mean plenty of things. It means that, that feeling, that fullness that you have when you walk into your mom's house or when you're sitting at the table with your family, just a sense of fullness,
wholeness,
and enough. Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing. Okay. And you just landed I wanted to use the joke so bad, dang. But so you just landed this amazing opportunity to be in the airport, yeah?
Yes. So that was a long process, but as soon as employments start to rise after COVID, the Oklahoma City airport is being renovated, and we are going to have our store in there. So it'll look different than our other stores. It'll have, the things you would find in an airport store,
right? But
it will have a zero waste section. So that doesn't exist in any airport. Yeah. So reusable straws, reusable utensils, things that are. Traveling is just so wasteful.
Oh, for sure.
Things that help us cut down on our waste. So super excited about that. We don't have a date yet, but it's in progress.
That's amazing. And you were saying Oklahoma airport is needing culture too.
Yes,
so
it's ready for a revamp.
Definitely.
And it's coming. It's going to be amazing.
For real. Have you already seen plans and stuff?
Yeah, we know everything that's coming in.
That's awesome.
We get to be partners in the project overall. So it's going to be great.
That's even more cool that they're not only just y'all, but they'll probably even put more local stuff in there, yeah?
Yeah, so I can't remember everyone off the top of my head, but 10 Lizzie's is another retail store. They'll be there.
Wow.
Hatch, the breakfast place, they'll be in there. I can't remember everyone off the top of my head, but it's a great group.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to awesome. It's going to be a great gateway and a great welcome to Oklahoma City.
For sure. Especially for new people coming in and all that. That's awesome.
Yep.
So you mentioned, being in college and you were like at the top of a lot of things. So even going back into, high school and, even like, I guess more so because I was watching your documentary as well. And so as, being in college, being at the top of everything, I'm sure that comes with a lot of stress. Yes.
Oh, for sure.
And so, but also keeping like a great, grades and everything like that. And so like, tell me if that was like a turning point for Brittney in your life. Was that like kind of a shaking moment, or like, did it turn and make you who you are today, or what was that like?
So I grew up with super high expectations.
Yeah.
My parents have lived amazing lives, and that their lessons have translated to us. So that was just kind of the world I grew up in. They didn't want me to be their version of my best. They wanted me to be my version of my best. And I have super high expectations of myself.
Right.
So I'm just I think I'm a doer. If there's a problem, let's solve it. Let's figure it out. Maybe it's not me that needs to solve it, but let's find the person who can. So that's just kind of the world I grew up in. And it translated to college. I was, like you said, president of a few organizations, house manager of my sorority. It's where I feel good. I and not because in an egotistical way, but because I know we're making stuff happen for other people. And yeah, that taught me a lot about collaboration and delegation and finding people who have talents that I don't have.
Yeah.
And letting them do that. And I recently heard you don't hire a bulldog and then continue barking yourself. You know, you find someone with a skill and let them run with that, because you don't need that skill if someone else has it, if they're on your team. So that's kind of, that mentality started there, but of course I have truly learned that owning a business now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's incredible. Okay, so that was a good line. Where'd you hear that?
I don't know. I'm full of quotes that I don't know where I heard, and unfortunately I am awful at crediting people, but I will say I heard it somewhere. Not my original words.
There you go. That's all that matters. Right. Even in the documentary, you're going in a lot about mental health and everything. So you're a pretty big advocate for mental health? Yes.
Totally. Yes. So in college, like you said, I was super involved. And my 4th year, I was so involved that I didn't really go out with my friends. I wasn't going to the bars. I wasn't drinking. So focused on my grades and the clubs I was part of. And then that last week of the semester, during finals week, I went out 6 days in a row and I partied, and I hadn't done that in months. Drank a lot, didn't sleep, a lot of caffeine, and now we can see, looking back, that was the week that my brain flipped into hypomania. So yeah, the documentary you're talking about, it goes over the whole experience and how it unfolded, and the perspective I have on it now as an adult, looking back at it. So yeah, it's been in control. It ended up with a bipolar diagnosis after about 6 months of that. And have been managing it for 10 years. Haven't had an episode since then. It starts out as hypomanic, and then it can transition into full-blown mania, which can transition into full-blown psychosis, which is when you are psychotic and out of touch with reality.
Right.
And the documentary talks about a few of my psychotic episodes.
Got you. Wow.
It's intense, and it's on my Instagram, and if you find it, you don't have to ask if you can share it. It was created to be a resource for anyone and everyone that needs it. So if you find it, share it with anyone and everyone you can.
Yeah, for sure. We'll definitely share that. Yeah, for sure. So what's the you said it goes from hypomania to mania, and then to psychosis. So what's the was there like just a chemical flip, or like or just the lack of sleep mixture with the caffeine, the drinking, and just all of it together? Yeah,
so those are known triggers. Think of it like Alzheimer's. So we know that Alzheimer's tends to manifest in older age if you're predispositioned to have it. So it's already there. It's just lying dormant until it's triggered by older age. So bipolar is the same way. So it usually manifests for the first time. Not always. There's exceptions, but typically between the ages of 18 and 24, which are traditionally the college age years, or the time you're moving away from your family and becoming more of who you are. So the behaviors are very similar to that coming into yourself kind of feeling. And the triggers are just prevalent beyond measure in a college atmosphere. So the ones you just mentioned, not sleeping, excessive caffeine, alcohol, recreational drug use, just the energy drinks, all of those things can trigger someone who is already has that lying dormant in their brain, like it did for me. So it was there all along. It was just waiting for a combination of things to literally turn a switch in my brain.
Wow. Dang. And then, so what was that for you, like that whole experience? Was it just like oh my gosh, I don't know how to handle, or like, I don't know what to do because this feels so different, or like, what did that do to your body in that moment?
Yeah, so it's wildly confusing for the person going through it and the people around that person. Because the hypomania is amazing. It is how you want to feel. It's you, but elevated. It is, if you're intelligent, you access, you start making connections that you would normally connect. And that makes you feel more brilliant. And then if you're confident, your confidence elevates even more.
Through the roof.
Yeah. And your sense of fear turns off, So you stop caring what other people think in a good way at first. And you know, start wearing, you know, a little more bold clothing, and you start to not be as hungry. So you start to lose weight, and then you feel more confident. It's a slippery slope. So, and you know, it's like when you've had the perfect amount of caffeine and you just feel on. But you haven't had any caffeine. Your brain is just doing it on its own. So to me, it felt like this is amazing. This is who I am. This is how I'm supposed to be. And I felt warranted in that because I just came off an amazing senior year. I had a 4.0. I had a job offer in New York and Boston. And I just broken up with my boyfriend of 2 years. So I had this newfound sense of freedom. And so this like elevated confidence felt deserved almost. But it was something felt different, like physically felt different. But to me, it felt great and like it was supposed to be happening. So now we know that that is hypomania. And you don't know if that person's going to transition into mania until it happens. So bipolar 2, that diagnosis will experience hypomania and then more so depression. Bipolar 1 is characterized by that flip from hypomania to mania. And so mania is when all of those symptoms that feel wonderful and feel euphoric start to become destructive and not, you know, counterproductive, not helpful, and uncontrollable. So when you already feel confident, now you become arrogant. You're already you're not as concerned about what other people think. So you start acting in a way that is completely out of character.
Right.
You're not scared, so you start doing extremely risky things, and your lack of connection to consequences fades, and it just gets to a point where, you know, and your brain is moving so fast. And then it just builds. It all builds on each other, and you're not sleeping. Your brain produces chemicals when you're asleep, and those chemicals help keep you at a stable pace. And when you stop sleeping, your brain isn't able to produce that chemical that keeps you at a stable place. So it just snowballs, and you can, at the top of mania, you can become psychotic, and that's when you lose touch with reality. And you are seeing things differently than they are actually happening. And my mom kept saying, you know, Brittney is acting the way Brittney would act if what she thought was happening was actually happening. So like for me, my psychosis resulted in thinking I needed to save the world. So if I thought I had to save the world, you better get out of my way, because I'm going to do it. You know, I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to do everything I can to make this happen, because that's who I am. That's what I would do. But I didn't have to save the world. So my actions were, you know, unreasonable, because what I thought was happening wasn't actually happening. But your brain is in a place where it tells you something different. So you don't know anything. You don't know any different than what is in front of you. It is extremely confusing and extremely fascinating, honestly.
I was about to say, it sounds like super, because if it feels good, right? And like let's say you know you're talking to a student that just graduated high school or something like that, and they're going through that state. How would they be able to recognize the difference between, you know, that, unless it does get to that point of destructiveness, you know? But like, how do you differentiate what is in that moment to where it's unhealthy to where it gets really bad?
That's what's really hard, is the person going through it is not really able to see it as dangerous or concerning until it reaches that psychosis state where you are putting other people in danger, or putting yourself in danger. And even then, when you're psychotic, you still don't realize that
it's an issue.
Is bad. And it's not usually until you come back down with medicine and treatment that you can start to see it as dangerous. So you know, I thought I was mad at my family for trying to take this away from me, because it felt like this is just a God-given talent. This is who I am. You're trying to hold me back, which is not who they are, and it's not who they've ever been. So that part was super confusing. But you know, when you're in that state, when you're around people who don't know you, they're like, oh wow, you are just fascinating. Like, you're unlike anyone I've ever met.
So that's like an adrenaline boost even to it.
And you're like, well, I don't ever want to let this go. This is amazing. But they don't know you. You know, they don't have
Yeah.
anything to compare you to. And they truly haven't probably met anyone like you because you're in a state of
Right.
crisis.
Yeah,
You know,
that's real.
you're not you're not who you are.
Right.
So yeah, it is very hard to get through to someone who's going through it. Like
Yeah.
I thought the term bipolar was just made up. I was like, oh, that's just a way for you to control me, which if I really thought about it, my parents never wanted to control me.
Right.
They gave me every resource they could for me to succeed. And that's what was so hard to reconcile in the moment. And honestly, that's what kept me thinking maybe something is wrong. Maybe this isn't great.
Was there like a moment for that? Like, was there something that, you know, it just clicked and be like, you know what, maybe I need to check something out, or,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? What was that like?
Yeah, there was a very clear moment. So that last week I talked about the end of that semester is when this lack of fear started, and it transitioned. It just grew and grew and grew. Like I had an internship in Boston that summer, and I would walk the streets of Boston by myself at 4 a.m. in skimping clothing. Like I should not have made it out alive, and I think the only reason I did is to talk about it and to help other families
Yeah.
bypass some of the heartache that my family did.
Yeah.
So this lack of fear kept me from thinking it was bad, and it wasn't until several months later when I was in acute mania is the top of mania, and that's where the psychosis can occur. And long story short, my mom had come to Stillwater, and I was like, just come here and I'll prove to you that I'm fine, which was totally backfired on me.
Right.
Yeah. So we were in my dorm, and it was a very clear moment. I had gone across the hallway. I told my mom, I was super mean to my mom. I told her to lay in my room and go to sleep. And I went across the hallway to this guy's room, and I just crawled in his bed because that's just kind of what I did. Super confident, overly confident, unsafely confident.
Yeah.
And I started explaining how parallel universes work to him. And I don't know how parallel universes work. But I was so confident that I knew it.
Right.
Like your brain, in that state, your brain starts making connections that just aren't based in reality. But you think they are.
Right.
And in that moment, I thought that I was an angel and he was Jesus.
Oh, wow.
And that somehow in that moment, I got scared. And my mom had been talking about this place in Houston called Menninger Clinic. And in that moment, I was like, okay, we need to go. We need to go right now because I think this is starting to get scary. And it's not, I don't feel like me. And then over the course of that day, on the way to Houston, is when I experienced my most acute psychotic episode. And it was on the airplane. So the documentary, I reenact a lot of it.
Yeah.
I guess one advantage of looking so young is I still look like I'm 21 when it happened.
Right.
So I reenacted portions of it to really show, you know, what psychotic looks like and what mania looks like, and try to relay that emotion, because when you're in it, you know, no one talks about it. So I thought I'm the only one to ever feel this way. Like there's no way anyone has ever felt this way where they would talk about it. And so with the documentary, hopefully I want to get through to me. Like I wanted to create something that I would have watched and thought, wow, this might be a real thing. Like this might be, there's someone out there who has felt this way. And when you can't identify with anyone else, you don't know what comes next. You can't see a path forward. So what I've learned though with the documentary is it has helped people who have had, you know, not necessarily psychotic episodes, but other mental illnesses feel validated. But what I didn't expect, and a lot of the feedback I've gotten, is it has helped people around the person who has gone through a similar experience be more understanding or see it in a way that they've just never heard before.
Yeah.
So in the documentary, we talk about how the brain is an organ, and it is just like any other organ in your body.
Right.
And sometimes brains get sick, and mine got sick. And while I am embarrassed by the way I acted, and I, you know, regret it to a degree, but I also can separate myself and see it as I wasn't me. My brain was betraying me. The chemicals in my brain were out of balance. And unfortunately, the brain controls the way you act.
Yeah.
So once you can separate yourself from that and truly see the brain as an organ that can be treated, you start to see it as a medical issue, and you treat it like anything else. Like if you have diabetes, your body isn't producing insulin, and that sucks. That's not your fault, but you take insulin to supplement that, and you can continue on living a normal and happy and healthy life. This is the same exact thing, but I was never explained
like that.
Yeah, exactly. But once I was able to move on, and I haven't had another episode in 10 years because I'm super serious about managing it.
Congrats. That's amazing.
Now I can see it as scary and dangerous, when in that moment I couldn't see that.
Yeah. Why do you feel like, or why do you think that there's not a whole lot of advocates out here like trying to speak out about bipolarness?
Yeah, I think there's, I know that there's a lot of shame in it. I think people feel attached to the way they acted.
Yeah.
Because so in that, when you're manic, you have a lack of connection to consequences, and you are super promiscuous. You have pressured speech, rapid speech. You just have to be talking all the time, and you colors are prettier, people are prettier, things smell better. You're just in this state of euphoria, and so you do things that you wouldn't normally do, and as your natural self. And I think people feel shame about the way they acted, and so they don't talk about it, or they don't. They've moved on. They control it, and they don't want anyone to know, because I think there's a stigma that you could go back to it, or now that I know you're bipolar, like I'm watching for extreme emotion, but that's not what bipolar is. So when we hear that term, oh, she's bipolar, or sometimes we say like the weather's being bipolar, well, that up and down, back and forth within the same day is super rare. Like, that is not how it starts.
Really,
it comes on slowly, and mania can last for months up to years.
Wow.
And it's not usually until someone reaches that peak of psychosis that someone has to intervene, because they are either in danger or putting someone else in danger.
Yeah.
So, but once you realize that was me being sick, you can treat it like an illness. And I think people have never been framed. They've never seen it framed in that way. So they feel responsible for it.
Yeah.
So, I am responsible for making sure it doesn't happen again to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
But I'm not responsible for it happening.
Yeah.
I didn't choose it. It wasn't. No one. I don't think anyone would choose a mental illness, especially a severe mental illness.
Yeah.
But we do get a choice, and that choice is in how we respond to it. Just like with everything else.
Definitely. And like even coming out of the mania part of everything, like how long was that process where you feel like you got a little more grasp and control of you being back to Brittney?
Yeah, it took a long time. Not as long as I have heard it takes on average, and that's because I was super serious about it. I went all Brittney. Like, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do it right.
Right.
And I'm gonna try my best.
Yeah.
So, when you're manic, you're not sleeping, you're not eating, so your body is just on overdrive. Like, we're not meant to live at that pace for as long as I did.
Yeah.
So naturally, when the mania, when you're given drugs to pull you out of that, your body is just depleted. So you naturally physically fall into a physical depression. Like, I physically could not get out of bed because my body was just exhausted from the months of
going,
never stopping, talking all the time, thinking all the time. So, and I can see that it transitioned from like I wanted to get out of bed from I couldn't get out of bed and I didn't want to get out of bed. And then it transitioned to I can get out of bed, but I don't want to get out of bed.
Right.
And then it transitioned to I can and I want to get out of the bed.
Yeah.
But that was because I gave medicine enough time to position my brain to see the mania for what it was, which was dangerous.
Yeah.
But if you don't stay on medicine that long, it it's not like Advil. It doesn't find the issue and fix it immediately. It has to get into your bloodstream. It has to adapt to your chemistry. So it takes a while. And some people don't stay on the medicine long enough to feel
a result.
Yeah. And mine was because of a promise I made to my mom. And I talk about this in the documentary, but I was so mad that I was forced to be on medicine. And I was forced because the quote is, danger to yourself or others. That's when you can be put in the hospital against your will.
Right.
And I was. So I felt like I never had a choice. And I was mad the euphoria was gone. I was mad I was forced to take these medicines. And so I told my mom that, and she said, do you trust me? And I said, yes. But I'm mad at you. I felt like she
Right.
took it away from me, and I still couldn't see it as her trying to help me and protect me. And she said, your brain isn't in a position to make that decision at this moment. But if you can stay on the medicine for 10 weeks, promise me you'll stay on it for 10 weeks. And if after 10 weeks you still don't want to be on the medicine, I'll hold your hand and we'll get off of them together. And that just gave me a timeline and light at the end of the tunnel. And those words were magic, because after 10 weeks, my brain had leveled out, thank you to the medicine, and I was able to see it as what it was, which was scary and dangerous and destructive. And I got super lucky.
Wow.
So then I started taking the medicine because I didn't want to go back. And I think that is a milestone that a lot of people don't get to, because they don't have the support system around them, or they've never heard that medicine takes time. Time is a crucial component of management and healing. And you have to believe that time is on your side.
Yeah.
And that's that goes all the way to suicide. Like I've never felt suicidal, but at the height of mania, I wasn't afraid to die, which is equally concerning.
Just as destructive, yeah.
Right. But there is a window of peak suicidal thought and energy. So if the idea and your energy line up, it's usually only for about 8 minutes. So if you can get through those 8 minutes, again, if you just trust that time is on your side, you can move past that feeling. Yeah. So time truly is a essential component to managing anything, relationships, anything, but especially mental conditions.
That's real. Yeah. Man, I wanted to relate it to suicide as well, because every time that we go into these schools, we talk about mental health, we talk about suicide awareness, we talk about anti-bullying, all this kind of stuff, and I feel like in those moments, even for students, a lot of things seem like everything that's happening to them is always gonna last. Yes. And so I think getting that through to students. To be able to be the position, the feelings that you're going through, the people that hurt you, that you can't get away from, you know what I'm saying? They're sitting right next to you every day in the class. And it's how are you able to, impress upon them that this feeling is not going to last,
Yeah. There are a few things that helped me in the mania that absolutely apply to the depths of depression.
Yeah.
And that is that feelings are not final. Feelings change, and this will not be the last feeling you feel. This is valid, and this is real, and this is hard.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be the only one or the last thing you feel.
Wow.
And if you believe that and you trust that and you've been told that, then you can if you're never told that, then you think that that's the way it's going to be forever.
Right.
And it just won't. The facts are it will not. Emotions are valid, feelings are valid, but facts are outside of emotions.
Yeah.
And I think, again, what helped me realize and accept treatment was the whole concept of the brain being an organ. So this one concept totally, it just rocked my world. And I have shared it a lot, and I have heard that it has helped people get through those crucial moments of considering suicide. So again, I've said it 45 times. I'll keep saying it. Your brain is an organ. Your brain can get sick. My brain got sick. And when you are suicidal, your brain is malfunctioning. Black and white. Your brain, the purpose of the brain as an organ is to keep you alive. The purpose of the brain is to keep you surviving. The purpose of the brain is to help you figure out everything you can do to stay alive. That's your survival mode. So if your brain is telling yourself you don't want to live, or you don't want to survive, or you don't want to keep going,
Right.
that's a black and white red flag that that's a medical issue.
Yeah.
And that means it can be treated.
Yeah.
So it is not a lack of will. It is not a part of your character. It is your brain is sick. Your brain is not producing the chemicals it needs to level you out so you can see what's actually happening. So you can take in reality as it is, which is that there is hope and that there are feelings beyond this one feeling. Right. And once you realize that, at least for me, it helped me see it outside of myself. Like I didn't choose this. Yeah, I don't want to feel this way, but I still have a sense of control. There's still an avenue for me to move past this, and that is admitting it and seeking treatment.
Right. Yeah.
And
so it doesn't even matter. My bad. You go ahead.
No. Go for it.
I was just gonna ask. So like, it's I'm thinking, also as like a student. You know what I'm saying? So like, it doesn't even matter like some of the things that they go through. Like it could just be like a malfunction just in the brain, regardless of like situations or home backgrounds or like anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
try to get through and escape.
Totally. So what we know about mental illness is that it does not discriminate. Right. It can attack anyone. Mm-hmm. And I'm a black and white example of, I lived a very privileged life. I do live a very privileged life. Right. I was given access to anything and everything I needed to succeed. I didn't have a hard life. I didn't experience trauma, and this just snapped. This was, and that to me proves that this is medical. This is outside of who I am as a person or my past experience. This is just a medical condition. And and since it hasn't happened in 10 years, because I've done everything I can,
it shows that it's
I've kept it away. And then back to that other portion of suicide. So in the same way, just like me talking about this right now, people are like, why you're so vulnerable, or you're so brave to talk about it. Yeah. And maybe it comes off that way, but truly what it is a tool for me. It's accountability. Yeah. And it's robbing those feelings of the shame that comes with them. Right. So when I say this in the documentary, and you can watch it over and over and over until you believe it, because sometimes it's hard to believe when you have only heard it one time. That's why I'm so excited this documentary is out there, because you can watch it as many times and hear that as many times as you need to. Right. But shame lives in the dark. Shame breeds in the dark, and secrecy controls you. So when you put that out to anyone, if you on social media, if you tell a counselor, tell a friend, tell someone, you are chipping away at the power that has over you. And I've struggled with eating disorders, and once when no one knew, it was all of me. It was stuck inside of me, and it controlled everything I did. It was everything I saw, all the everything. And then once I told my friends, I just felt immediately lighter. It's just a weight, yeah. And it wasn't because I now expected them to like hold me accountable. It's that I know that someone else knows, and that alone helps create a support system and helps you feel like you're not alone. Right. Yeah, and just so back to like, this is a selfish thing truly for me to talk about this, because when I talk about it, I heal more. Yeah, definitely. And I'm naturally an external processor, so as I talk through these things, every single time I get to do this, I find out more about it. I see it in a different light. And if you don't talk about it,
connecting more.
Exactly. Yeah. If you don't talk about it, you don't get to make those connections, and you don't feel stronger, and you don't feel brave enough to do it. So putting it out there, realizing everyone has their thing. Yeah. No, this is mine. Yours will be different. And if you have friends who don't have a thing, they will. Right. They will. It just hasn't happened to them yet.
Or they're not vocally even talking about it, so they're living in that shame.
Exactly. Yeah. Guilt. And maybe it's a physical issue that someone goes through later in life, but they'll struggle with that. But I don't say that to say everyone will struggle with mental illness, but everyone has something that is holding them back from living their fullest life.
Do you think that like some part of things that people deal with all still struggle, or still like stem from some type of mental anything? Because I mean, mental illness or mental health is like all blanketed into like your emotions or like how you react to things or how whatever. But like I feel like some things sometimes tend to like all point back to mental health in some way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. So there is a distinction between mental health and mental illness.
Mm.
So I have a
Yeah.
mental illness,
Right.
but we're just not taught good mental health
Exactly.
practices
Yeah.
and habits, and
Right.
to notice those feelings. And you know, if I had known that bipolar runs in my family,
Yeah.
and that those things were triggers, I probably wouldn't have done those things.
Right. Right.
But that comes back to people just not talking about it because they're scared that it will define them, or that it, is part of their character when it's just not.
Or they don't think that it'll be them.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, they just don't think it can happen to them. But
Yeah,
I'm proof that it can.
Right, right.
But it doesn't have to define you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. This has been very enlightening. I like it.
There's a lot to say.
Yeah, for sure. Cause like even for me, I went through I attempted suicide twice whenever I'm freshman year in college into sophomore year of college, and even thinking about my family and previous family, or not previous, they're all gone. Like no, but like my extended family and everything. But like there's been a couple of people that have dealt with suicidal tendencies and stuff. But even for me, like actually like trying to go through with everything, it was even thinking about that moment in time in my life. I was not sleeping as much. I was drinking a lot. No,
is that an energy drink?
It is, yes. I'm sorry.
It's a known trigger. You can drink caffeine without drinking energy drinks.
Right. Yeah. I don't have that at all. No, I'm playing. But yeah, but like even more so, like 2-3 a day or something like that, and it was just a lot that was going on. And even on top of that, like going through depression during that time of like all of my friends going to college. I just went to a community college, you know what I'm saying? And so and I was the only child, so it was like I just felt very alone in that moment. And what you're saying was very interesting, of that 8 minutes of your energy and your what action,
your energy and your mentality. Like your thought has to line up with your physical energy to do it, and that usually only aligns for about 8 minutes.
That's wild. And so that makes sense, because like everything was just a perfect storm pretty much at one time. And so anyway, but yeah, going back to what you were talking about, it's just all like the students that we come across all the time is like, how can we like shake you in the moment, be like, yo, you are gonna be able to get through this. You just like you're saying, time is on your side. Just keep pushing. Like, absolutely. And it's not even like a keep pushing, like just endure it. You know what I'm saying? But like, there's a healthy way to get through it. Yeah. So like, if there's any like words of encouragement that you'd be able to, like, if you're talking to a student, I mean, like, or talking to yourself, you know what I'm saying, back then, and being able to like give those words of encouragement to be like, Brittney, like, this is not who you are. And even for that student that may be even going through those first stages of mania, or like, is hypermania? Hypomania. How would you be able to like explain to them that like maybe you do need help, or change in lifestyle, or whatever? Like, what would be those words that you can tell them?
Oh, so many.
Right.
One thing is, there's this mentality, or there's this stigma that seeking treatment is weakness, or it's showing weakness, or it's exposing a weakness. And that's just wrong. That is just a lie that someone started, and people keep saying it. And we have got to start thinking that seeking treatment is a sign of strength. It is the exact opposite of weakness. I would argue that staying in that place and not choosing to use what resources you have available to you would be weakness.
Because it's comfortable.
Yeah, it's comfortable. But speaking it out loud, letting other people help you, that's strength. Yeah. If medicine is the avenue it was for me, then that's strength. That's saying, no, I can't do this on my own, and that's fine. Right. No one does this on their own. And I used the example earlier, like, if you had an appendicitis, would you be like, oh no, it's fine, I'm just gonna keep going, I'm just gonna make it through it, I'm not gonna tell anyone, I'm not gonna ask doctors to help me, this is my fault? Like, you don't choose to have an appendicitis. When you do, you go to a doctor, a medical doctor who can help you figure out what's going on, help you treat it, and help you move on. Like, and you know, we don't, in the same way, we don't call people appendicitis, and like, we don't say, oh, he's cancer or he's diabetes. And in the same way, we should not say she is bipolar. So our language is super important, and that it's super important for the people around someone going in crisis, but also for that person to be able to separate themselves. So in my instance, I am trying to change the language to say I have bipolar. Because I do. It's an illness that I have. It's something that I handle and manage, but it's not who I am. I am not bipolar. That's not all of me. That's not
Brittney Matlock, everybody.
It's something. It's something I have, but it's not my identity. So I think, and just like we talked about, no feeling is final, and you get to decide what defines you. You know, it is what it is, but it will become what you make it. You know, things happen to you. Fine. Sucks. Not fair. But that is what it is. But you get the next choice. You get to determine what comes next. And make it what you want. And sometimes that's really hard. And sometimes you're alone in that. And sometimes people don't get it. That's fine.
Wow. Brittney, I appreciate you coming through. This has been very, like I was saying, it's very enlightening, and I wanna go more into it. Maybe we can do a round 2. You know,
I'm for it.
Heck yeah,
anytime. Anytime
awesome.
I can get those words in front of someone. They are tools, and the bigger our toolbox, the bigger. The bigger things we can dismantle, and the bigger dreams we can build. Because
a lot of people like that we've come across is like they've experienced somebody else doing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And for me, either going through it and then meeting somebody that's has gone through it and overcome it, and then having a successful life, you know, and having their own businesses. You have 3, is that correct?
We have 3 brick and mortar stores, an online store, and an event venue.
Okay, so
it's crazy.
Don't tell me you can't overcome something and be successful. So it's like this whole thing for me, seeing other people try to give advice from an outsider's perspective, you know, is a whole lot different than being able to talk to somebody who's gone through it and who's overcome it.
Yes, I would also add that don't ignore these words just because you haven't felt that way, or you don't think you'll ever go through that. Because you're right, you may not. A mental illness may not be on your path, but it will probably be on someone's path around you. And these words can be your words that you bring to them, and can change their perspective and enough so that they move past it, and this doesn't become their final feeling. Right.
And especially it's so more enlightening to be able to hear like information on how to be able to fix it, instead of just like, oh, these are statistics out there, you can, you know, whatever, being informed instead of being like, okay, here's your instruction, you know, to be able to walk this out. So like for even somebody that, you know, just is getting information out there, or matter of fact, I had this question earlier and I want to be able to ask it before I forget it. But like, what are some of the things that you like purposefully cut out of your life to be able to stay healthy for these past 10 years?
Yeah, so sleep is a number 1 priority.
She didn't cut out sleep just for it. No.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
But that's something that a lack of sleep is something I cut out. Prioritizing sleep is something I stopped doing. Which
makes me nervous why I've overslept today.
And honestly, I'm the perfect person, because I'm like, good, he got enough sleep. His brain is rested. If that's what his brain needs. If it wasn't
you, they would probably been pissed.
Whatever, it's fine. It lined up. It was meant to be.
There you go.
So prioritizing sleep so that my brain can produce the chemicals it needs to, which only happens when you sleep.
Right.
And with bipolar specifically, not being able to sleep is both a symptom and a trigger. So if I stop being able to sleep, that's a sign that mania could be coming back.
So are you pretty strict on like when you go to sleep, when you wake up, and like alarms and having your phone? Like, what does that look like?
So I like structure, but I'm not like super strict. That would limit me. So I get 8 hours, and those 8 hours may be, 11 to 7, midnight to 8, or I will sleep longer if I can. I love sleeping, so it's actually awesome, because I'm like, I have to get 8 hours.
Right. Sorry guys, I'll be asleep.
Gotta sleep in. So that's been the number 1 tool next to medicine, and allowing, being okay with being on medicine. I take 6 medicines a day. Some of those are vitamin supplements, but that's what my brain needs to put myself at my best natural state.
It's
not because someone wants me to be normal or be something that I'm not, or be just stable. You can find doctors who want you to thrive, and medicine can help you do that. So medicine, sleep. I make sure I try to keep my blood sugar level, because I can tell when I haven't eaten. I just, anyone should do that, but I get foggy and I don't have any mental clarity. And then telling people, that truly has been an enormous tool, is putting it out there, because now not only am I hopefully helping people bypass some of this heartache and struggle, but I'm also holding myself accountable. So now you guys know I've committed everything I can to making sure this doesn't come back, because now I have a lot at stake. I have a huge company. I have 2 kids. I have an amazing husband. And I have things that I don't want to lose. And so I take full responsibility for everything that I can do, while acknowledging there are certain things outside of my control. So sleep, medicine, and a support system, and keeping it out of the dark. And I talk about this in the documentary, but as a visual, you can picture, if you walk into, open the door to a room and the lights are off, and there's things in front of you, but you have to get to the other side, you're not going to know how to move forward. And you're probably going to run into stuff, and those being obstacles. But when you just turn that light on, you can see the things in front of you. That's good. Now you get to move around them. They're still there. You still might run into them, but you're not as scared of what's going to hit you, because the light is on and people know. And the light,
you know how to navigate through it without stress or anxiety.
Yeah, and things find you when you're open about it. Like people who want to help, people want to help. There are people who are equipped and ready and meant to meet you and help you in this moment. But if you don't tell them where you are, they're not going to find you. They can't find you. So turn that light on and get to the other side, and let's, be our best selves and move on.
I was telling one of my friends the other night that because he was kind of going through the same thing, and just like little depression, state. And I was like, man, you either hit me up or hit somebody up, but like, I can't help what I don't know.
Exactly.
So
don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. And so that's really good. Like being a voice. And I feel like even throughout like this whole COVID thing, it has definitely taken away so many people's voices.
Absolutely.
And we've lost a lot of students to suicide that have outnumbered even the loss of COVID through the teenage years and through the college years and stuff like that. And so like for me is like, and for the team, this is a very important topic, even to be able to transition out of this whole fearful, I can't be social whenever I'm out and about. I can't be, I've got to have my distance from people now. I can't, be normal. You know what I'm saying? And so, and I'm sure like this whole, one of our board members, he was saying that people are going to be studying this group of students for the next like 10 years.
But even as adults, I mean, this, my business, my livelihood was threatened for a year. We were living in a state of threat for an entire year. So to that, I would say you can find comfort in that the entire world just went through this collective trauma. Everyone experienced it in a different way, because no 2 lives are the same. You're not alone in that. Like every single person
on this
earth was affected by this in some way. So let's talk about it. And definitely, there have been physical barriers. We can't be together, but one of the greatest tools of this time is social media. And just like I talked about business,
and Zoom and everything.
Business being it can be very destructive, but it can also be great. And I found you guys through social media. And if you don't have someone to talk to, put it out there, because now it's out of you, and who knows who's going to see it. And that's a great thing. That can feel scary, but it can also be wonderful. It's a reach
that you wouldn't have by yourself.
Social media is the biggest tool we have right now to stay connected and to find the people who need to find us.
And use it for good. There's too many things that you can just be destructive with. Like there's so many good things that you can do.
Unfollow those people who make you feel inferior.
Yes.
Follow those people who make you feel inspired. There's a big difference between feeling inspired and feeling inferior. If there are people who make
Brittney?
If they make you feel like you're not enough or you're never going to get there, just unfollow them. You don't have to watch what they're doing. Would you stay around people who make you feel that way in real life? No. You would separate yourself from that. You can hit unfollow, and they're never going to know.
And that button.
And good for them living whatever they're doing. I hope they're happy. That's not going to that inferiority does not have to stay
Yeah,
with
yeah.
me.
Right.
Follow those people that,
So that would be the
give you
fourth
hope.
thing that you cut out.
yeah,
Ugh,
toxic
yes.
people, or people who, not everyone's going to like you. Not everyone's going to
Mm.
understand. And if you think about it, I don't like everybody. So
Right.
how can I expect everyone to
Yeah.
like me?
That's real.
And some people are going to be weirded out that I'm super vulnerable about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And some people are going to be inspired that I'm really vulnerable about it. So,
Mhm.
you could be the sweetest peach in the world and someone's still going to hate peaches.
Right.
But
Yeah.
you're a peach anyway. Like,
Right.
just
But you have
do it.
that's something even more so that I keep finding out is like there's so much more people out there that like care and like love what we're doing more than people that are hating on it.
Absolutely.
But those, for some reason, the negative ones stick
They
out
stick
a
out,
lot
yeah.
more
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
than the positive
Yep.
ones.
You can have 100 comments and that one negative one, or even that
Yeah.
one that has some criticism, that's going to be what sticks with you.
Right, right, right.
But that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to get it. They don't have to like not. And something I've realized in the last year is that not every opinion matters,
That's true.
and not every opinion has to have the same weight.
That's
You
real.
get to decide what sticks with you and what you hear and move on.
Mm-hmm.
If you wouldn't ask someone for advice, you don't need to listen to their criticism. Now,
Mm.
some people, a lot of people, like my mom and my husband, I trust them. They know who I want to be. They
Right.
know who I am at my best self. And so I listen to their feedback. Like I welcome that. That is helpful. I may not always agree with it. I may do
Right.
things that they wouldn't do. That's fine because we're different people.
Right.
But I value what they think.
Mm-hmm.
But some people, you don't have to care what they think. So
Yeah.
there's this whole thing about you just shouldn't care what everyone thinks.
Mm.
True, but there are certain people around you that you should care what they think.
Yeah,
And for
yeah,
me, that's
definitely.
my mom and my sister and my husband.
Yeah, yeah.
And everything else,
That's real. That's real.
I don't have to let it stick.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why I feel like a lot of people live off of is based off of those comments, based off of like even things that are shared or promoted or what media even pushes more so in an agenda type way. It's like everybody gravitates to either the drama or destructiveness. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so
But that's
it's
not
just,
about you. That's about them. Just keep doing you. Has nothing to do with you.
we just need to cut it off right there. That's it. Just keep doing you.
Yeah,
Yes. No,
do it.
that's real. That's real. Well, I appreciate. Yes, I said this
Thank you.
twice. I feel like I would try to cut it off earlier. No, I'm playing. But I really do appreciate you coming through, and you're doing some amazing stuff. I want to hear more about Plenty for sure. We'll have to come in and do an event sometime or something like
Yes,
that.
we would love to have
Do you like dancing?
When I was super manic in Boston, I again didn't care what anybody thought and was super confident, and I would dance with a street dance crew
For
all
real?
over Boston. Yeah. So
You just
yeah,
traveled
I
with
can.
them?
Yeah.
That's
I would just find
hilarious.
them. Like I would go where they were going and just
Right.
dance with them. And I was a cheerleader and I like to dance, but I
Right.
have a lack of confidence there. But
Yeah.
it showed me that I can do whatever if I don't let myself stay in my way.
Well, I mean, we'll bring some other dancers as well
Yeah,
for
let's
you.
do it.
And yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be amazing.
Thank you for letting me babble and speak to these
This is
things.
not babbling. This is with a purpose, and so we appreciate you. Thank you so much,
course.
Brittney. Be sure where can everybody follow you at?
So my personal is Brittney here. It's Brittney here. And then our business is Plenty Mercantile. Just at Plenty Mercantile.
Got you. Yeah. Be sure to follow Brittney on anything and everything, and also do not forget to like, rate, review, subscribe, share, do all of the things so we can be able to help get people that are dealing with mania, bipolar, like depression, mental health, anything, so we can be able to impact their lives just as much as Brittney has impacted mine. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And